Please subscribe my channel. I didn't know exactly what I was walking into that night. The invitation had been vague, just a time, a place, and a whisper that it was something exclusive. At first, I laughed at the idea. A secret party? Full of men? It sounded absurd, like a scene from one of those films I watched but never thought could happen to me. But curiosity isn't something easily tamed, and somewhere deep down, I was craving a break from the monotony that had settled over my life. I left the house later than usual. My husband was already asleep, or so I assumed. I had left a note on the kitchen counter, casual, nonchalant. Meeting some friends. Back late. That wasn't exactly a lie. I was meeting people, but not the kind of people I normally met. Not in the kind of setting I had entered now. The street was dimly lit, the kind of lighting that could make any place feel hidden, secret, forbidden. I hesitated at the door, listening to the muffled voices and laughter that seeped through the walls. Each step forward made my heartbeat accelerate. There was a thrill in the secrecy, a rush that made the blood move faster, that made my body aware in ways I hadn't realized were dormant. Inside, the room was warm, packed, full of men I didn't know and some I recognized only by fleeting glances or whispered names. They were confident, easy with their charm, and oblivious to my unease. Or maybe they noticed and simply didn't care. Either way, I was there, a stranger in a room of strangers, and that vulnerability alone was intoxicating. I made my way to the back, trying to stay unnoticed. I didn't want to draw attention, not yet. I needed a moment to breathe, to understand what I had stepped into. Drinks were passed around casually, laughter mingling with music that was too loud and yet perfect. The energy was different from anything I'd experienced before, raw, unfiltered, unapologetic. A man approached me. His smile was friendly, unassuming, but there was a subtle edge to it, the kind of confidence that hinted at knowing more than he let on. I introduced myself, polite, careful. Conversation started light, teasing, the kind of banter that doesn't require depth but promises possibilities. My eyes wandered across the room, noting faces, movements, how people interacted, how the air seemed heavier with desire, curiosity, and the unspoken. I realized then how much I had missed. The small things, the attention, the subtle interest of others, things I hadn't even noticed were absent at home. My husband, loving as he was, had fallen into routine. Security, predictability, comfort, they were the very things I had cherished once, but now they felt like a cage I didn't notice until it rattled. By the time I moved deeper into the room, I was aware of my own reflection in the windows and mirrors that dotted the space. I looked different. I felt different. It was as though the walls themselves were whispering to me, reminding me of a self I had forgotten. The person who could laugh freely, move without hesitation, feel desire without guilt. And then something shifted. A game began. Not literal, not organized, but in the way people's eyes locked, the subtle touches, the fleeting gestures. I felt seen. I hadn't felt seen in months, perhaps years. It was alarming, thrilling, and for a moment, terrifying. The line between curiosity and something more blurred, and I could feel my own hesitation, my own limits testing themselves. I stepped back, trying to regain composure, reminding myself who I was and where I belonged. My husband. My life. The reality outside these walls. And yet, part of me resisted. This wasn't just a party, it was a mirror showing what had been missing, a reminder that desire, attention, and validation were not things to take for granted. Then the night changed. The shift was subtle at first. A glance, a whispered comment, a brush of hands that lingered too long. I felt my chest tighten, my pulse quicken. For a second, I imagined what would happen if I let go, if I gave in to the moment. But that thought was dangerous. It was thrilling because it was forbidden. Because it was not mine to act on without consequence. And the consequences, I would learn them all faster than I expected. By the end of the night, nothing would be the same. Not my understanding of desire, not my perception of myself, and certainly not my relationship with the man waiting at home, unaware that the simple promise of a night out had changed everything. The final moments of that night were the ones I would never forget. The laughter, the proximity, the almost touch, all culminating in a single realization. I could never undo this night. I could try to rationalize, to excuse, to explain. But the truth had been experienced, and experience does not lie. And that is when I heard it, a comment, a recognition, a name that should have stayed unknown. In that instant, the secret, the thrill, the curiosity, everything collapsed into clarity. The night had been intoxicating, dangerous, unforgettable, but it had a cost, one I had yet to understand, one that would ripple into every corner of my life from that moment forward.